I am 97 years old, and I am not going to sit here and tell you that age is just a number. That is a lie sold by people who have never felt the weight of their own skeleton betraying them. Age is a thief. It comes in the middle of the night, and it does not steal your memories first. It steals your momentum. It steals your ability to push yourself out of a chair. But I do not use a walker. I do not have a nurse coming to my home to bathe me. I eat exactly 4 specific foods every single day. And every time I go to the clinic, my doctors stare at my blood work and my muscle density in absolute silent confusion. They expect to see the frail, deteriorating blood profile of a ghost. Instead, they see the metabolic engine of someone decades younger. The medical establishment tells us that as we age, we should eat less, eat lighter, have a piece of toast and tea before bed because our digestion is delicate. That is a death sentence. That is how you starve your own independence. Today, I am going to tell you exactly how I stopped my body from consuming its own muscle and the 4 non-negotiable foods that keep me walking upright. But I cannot take this journey alone. We are fighting a culture that expects us to quietly fade away into an armchair. If you refuse to be a burden, if you refuse to surrender your dignity, I need you to subscribe right now. Leave your exact age and where you are watching from in the comments below, so we can prove to the world that an army of us is refusing to break. The first thing you must understand about aging is the silence of it. The decline does not announce itself with a sudden crash. It whispers. It begins in the smallest, most humiliating moments that we hide from our children. It is the slight hesitation before stepping off a curb. It is the way a simple glass jar of preserves suddenly feels as though it has been welded shut. It is the morning you wake up, look at the deep plush armchair in your living room, and realize that you are afraid to sit in it. You are afraid because you know deep in your bones that you might not have the strength in your thighs to get back up without crawling to the coffee table for leverage. That is not just weakness. That is the evaporation of your humanity. I remember the exact morning I felt the whisper. I was 82. I sat on the edge of the mattress, my feet touching the cold hardwood floor, and I felt a profound, terrifying heaviness in my limbs. It felt as though gravity had doubled overnight. Society tells us to accept this. They pat us on the hand, they give us a cane, and they speak to us in that soft, patronizing tone reserved for toddlers and the dying. They tell us it is the natural progression of things. But what they do not tell you is that the vast majority of this weakness is a biological choice. We are told to protect our hearts, to protect our brains, to lower our cholesterol, to watch our blood pressure. But nobody tells you that the true currency of aging is muscle. Muscle is your armor against the nursing home. Muscle is the difference between sleeping in the shower and catching yourself, or shattering a hip and beginning the final miserable countdown in a hospital bed. When you lose your muscle, you lose your physical autonomy. You lose the right to live behind your own locked door. I watched my friends disappear one by one into assisted living facilities. Not because their minds failed them, but because their legs did. They became prisoners in their own bodies, lifted by strangers, bathed by strangers, stripped of their privacy because they lacked the sheer mechanical force to push themselves off a toilet seat. I realized then that my enemy was not time. My enemy was sarcopenia, the silent, relentless wasting of muscle tissue that accelerates with every passing year. And the most terrifying part? We actively help this predator. We feed the disease through the greatest lie ever sold to the elderly. The trap is set every evening in millions of homes, right around dinner time. It is the lie of the light dinner. When we cross a certain threshold in age, doctors and dietitians start whispering about our delicate constitutions. They tell us our metabolism has slowed, so we must eat like birds. A bowl of clear soup, a slice of dry toast, a cracker with a thin smear of jam, a cup of chamomile tea. We swallow this advice, thinking we are being responsible, thinking we are saving our hearts from heavy digestion. But let me tell you the brutal biological reality of what happens when a senior citizen goes to sleep after a light protein-deprived meal. When you sleep, your body goes into a fast. For 8, 9, or 10 hours, you are consuming no nutrients. But your body's demand for energy and cellular repair does not stop. In a younger person, the body handles this with ease. In an aging body, something sinister occurs. Because you did not provide enough dense structural protein before the fast began, your body still needs amino acids to keep your vital organs functioning. Where does it find them? It turns on itself. It cannibalizes your own muscle tissue. Every single night you go to sleep on a light dinner of soup and crackers. Your body slowly eats your legs, your back, your shoulders. You are literally digesting your own independence while you dream. I learned this the hard way on a Tuesday night in November, 15 years ago. I woke up at 2 in the morning, needing to use the bathroom. I swung my legs over the edge of the bed. I placed my feet on the floor and commanded my legs to stand. Nothing happened. The muscles simply refused to fire. The mechanical link between my brain and my knees had been severed by weakness. I sat there in the dark, staring at the telephone on the nightstand, realizing that if I could not stand up, I would have to call my daughter. I would have to ask her to drive across town in the middle of the night to lift me. The shame of that thought tasted like ash in my mouth. That was my breaking point. I realized that my polite, doctor-approved diet was slowly preparing me for an invalid's bed. I refused to let my family become my caretakers. If you are listening to this and you feel that exact same fear, that dread of becoming a burden to the people you love, I have left a critical, comprehensive guide in the pinned comment below this video. Read it. It is the blueprint for taking back the physical autonomy that society assumes you will quietly surrender. From that night forward, I declared war on my own deterioration. I threw out the crackers. I threw out the light soups. I stopped eating for comfort and started eating for structural integrity. I engineered a protocol of 4 specific, non-negotiable foods that I consume every single day without fail. This is the exact regimen that halted my muscle decay and rebuilt my armor. The doctors cannot explain why my blood panels look the way they do, but the biology makes perfect, undeniable sense. The first food is the midnight shield. Every single night, before my head hits the pillow, I consume a heavy dose of slow digesting casein. For me, that is a dense, high-quality cottage cheese or a thick fermented milk kefir. Not a small spoonful, a substantial serving. Casein protein coagulates in the stomach. It digests agonizingly slowly. It drips amino acids into my bloodstream for 6 to 8 solid hours. While my peers are sleeping and their bodies are chewing up their thigh muscles for fuel, my body is feeding on that heavy dairy. It completely shuts down the nocturnal catabolism. It is a protective wall around my muscles. The second food is the structural foundation. Whole eggs. 3 of them every single morning, and I eat the yolks. For decades, the medical establishment terrorized my generation about cholesterol. They told us to throw away the yolks, to eat dry egg whites, to strip our diets of fat. They were entirely wrong. The yolk is liquid gold. It is packed with choline, fat-soluble vitamins, and the exact dietary cholesterol the aging body desperately needs to synthesize hormones. You cannot maintain muscle without hormones, and you cannot build hormones out of dry toast. The whole egg is the most perfectly packaged biological building block on earth. I eat them soft-boiled, leaving the nutrient matrix intact. The third food is the liquid matrix, bone broth. Not the thin, flavorless stock from a cardboard box on a supermarket shelf. I am talking about thick, gelatinous broth made from roasted marrow bones, simmered for 24 hours until the joints and cartilage break down completely. When you age, your joints become dry, brittle, and inflamed. Your collagen production falls off a cliff. Drinking real gelatin-rich bone broth is like pouring warm oil into a rusted engine. It supplies the exact amino acids, glycine and proline, that your body requires to rebuild the connective tissue, the tendons and the ligaments that hold your muscle to your skeleton. You can have all the muscle in the world, but if your joints are made of glass, you will still fall. The fourth food is the bitter truth, fermented cabbage. Sauerkraut or kimchi, eaten raw, unpasteurized, every single afternoon. You can eat all the rich protein and heavy fat you want, but if your aging gut cannot absorb it, it is entirely useless. As we age, our stomach acid weakens, our digestive fire dims, the enzymes deplete. By introducing raw fermented vegetables, I am flooding my digestive tract with billions of aggressive living bacteria and naturally occurring digestive acids. It strips away the sluggishness of the aging gut. It ensures that every single gram of protein I consume, from the eggs and the dairy, is violently broken down and forcefully absorbed into my bloodstream. When my physicians look at my chart today, they shake their heads. They test my grip strength and look at each other in silence. They read my lipid panels, my inflammatory markers, and my bone density scans, and they search for the frailty they are trained to treat. They cannot find it. They ask me if I am taking some new synthetic compound or if I have a secret genetic mutation. They are terrified of the amount of cholesterol and heavy protein I consume at my age. But their textbooks were written for a population that has accepted physical decline as inevitable. They were trained to manage decay. I am not interested in being managed. I do not eat these 4 foods because I want to live forever. Immortality is a fool's errand. I am 97. I know exactly where this road ends, and I am not afraid of the destination. What I am afraid of, what I actively violently fight against every single day, is the loss of my dignity before I reach that end. The true victory of old age is not the number of years you manage to accumulate. It is the quality of the physical autonomy you maintain in those final years. There is a profound, quiet glory in waking up in the morning, feeling the cold edge of the bed, planting your feet firmly on the floor, and standing up under your own power. There is a deep, unspeakable pride in walking into your own kitchen, grasping a heavy jar and twisting the lid off with your own two hands. We are told that we must eventually hand our lives over to caregivers, that we must accept the armchair, that we must eat the light soup and wait for the end. I reject that completely. I will eat my heavy protein. I will rebuild my armor in the dark. I will keep my muscles, my strength, and my own front door keys. And when my time finally comes, I guarantee you, I will not be lying in a hospital bed waiting for permission to move. I will meet it standing up.